allamericangold.com.
Good morning, everybody tuning in Northern Colorado or worldwide on the website 1360khnc.com. Make sure to do yourself a favor and check out our CBD products. It helps you, it helps us, and it's a great way to protect the movement as we look forward to a bright, progressive future in Northern Colorado. I'm with my co-patriots today, Casey and Kevin. Guys, have I introduced y'all?
No, you have not.
Oh, well, how about Kevin, introduce yourself to Casey. Casey, then introduce yourself to Kevin. Let everybody know who we got hanging out with us.
Yeah, I'm Kevin. I'm a student from Colorado State. That's about as far as I go. But yeah, no, veteran, doing the turning point thing and just trying to salvage what we can of this country for now.
Uh-oh. Not getting audio from Casey.
That's my fault. Better?
There
yeah, there you go.
Perfect.
How you doing, man? Good
I
morning.
hit the mute button on my microphone on accident. My bad.
Early mornings.
Likewise. So other than a student, I'm not a student. Other than what I live every day and learning how our country is so weird. But we do regular podcasts. We talk about political stuff, how we can be engaged in our country, but our world today just changes every minute, and it is crazy.
No, it is happening very rapidly, and it's a little bit unnerving just how quickly things have shifted. The frame of reference I like to give everybody is California, the bastion of everything liberal in this country, as recently as 2008 voted against gay marriage. Outright voted it by a majority against gay marriage, and now it is the liberal paradise, the liberal mecca. That's how quickly these things are happening.
Right.
Yeah,
and why are we tilting further and further to the left, falling off the edge here?
Well, honestly, my biggest thing with it is I'm seeing we're divided. More division is happening than we have ever had in this country. And one of my favorite days and best days I've ever seen in this country was 9/12/01. That was the most united our country has ever been, in my opinion. And while I've been alive, I don't know about prior to that a whole lot. But when you look at it, when we're divided, we will fall. If we're united, we will always prevail. Always.
John Adams wrote in a letter to Jonathan Jackson, October 2nd, 1780, quote, "There is nothing which I dread so much as a division of the republic into two great parties, each arranged under its leader, and concerting measures in opposition to each other. This, in my humble apprehension, is to be dreaded as the greatest political evil under our Constitution."
That is actually probably a pretty accurate statement too, but what that fails to contextualize is just how bad everything else is, right? That's the problem, is that they could have very easily gone with the parliamentary system, added more representation and made it more difficult, but there's a reason why they went with the two-party system. Why they chose to enable it is because, again, it's like Winston Churchill said, democracy is the worst form of government except for all of the other ones. It's just going to be naturally that way, and what we're seeing now is a rapid takeover by the radical left. They seem to have found this foothold in being able to exert so much pressure on corporations and stuff like that, because people seem to think that Twitter accurately represents the average American, despite the fact that it is, it is the craziest of the crazies. I don't know about you, Casey, but that's how I've been seeing it lately.
Oh, well, you bring up Twitter. It's led by Jack Dorsey, and if anybody has actually watched his interview with the House of Reps, I think is who it was with, he doesn't care. He did not even care to answer their questions with any validity. It was super vague because all of our House of Reps in Congress doesn't understand technology, and the tech giants are just taking advantage of it.
Even if they did, how effectively could our government rein in big tech? It seems to me that they have more access to people's data and to the ability to manipulate things than our federal representatives do.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of the problem is that the boomers have not left politics yet. Our generation is not seizing the power. Like, this is when we are supposed to be the ones starting to penetrate the House of Representatives, start to actually get our voices heard. We should, people with knowledge like we have at our age of technology should be the ones asking these questions. We know what's going on. Jack Dorsey would not be able to get it over on us. But the fact of the matter is that because the establishment refuses to vacate this seat of power that they have, because the establishment for the boomers is going to be a lot different than the establishment for Gen X and the millennials and stuff like that, and it's going to represent a rapid shift in the seat of power in America. They don't want to give that up yet, and they haven't given that up, and it's costing our country. There shouldn't be people in the House of Reps over the age of like 55, 60 years old, and yet we have a 78-year-old man running our country. Like,
well, then again, we shouldn't have people in the House of Representatives who are younger than 35, in my opinion.
Why not?
I think we need a little bit more life experience. That's why I haven't run for office yet. I need to learn more.
Yeah, but a representative under the age of 35 is going to be able to question Jack Dorsey at Twitter much more efficiently than one at 65.
Like, my number, yeah. I would be more open to adding a max limit before I add a minimum limit. Yeah, only because of that problem. That's it.
Yeah.
We can take calls on that, guys. The call-in number, 970-587-5171. If you're listening out there to the radio broadcast, call in. What do you think? Should we lower the age to enter office or put a maximum age limit?
Do you know interest rates are at an all-time low? If your mortgage rate is 4% or more, you need to call SCL. Hi, this is Larry Jagger, the president of SCL Mortgage. Now may be the time to refinance and pay off expensive non-deductible interest debt and skip 2 months payments. Or are you self-employed? We can use your bank statements to qualify you. Find SCL at myspecialmortgage.com or call 970-444-1222 and myspecialmortgage.com, NMLS number 1200716.
Chinese state-run media are celebrating the apparent success of Joe Biden and the mainstream news outlets, which act as nothing more than the communications branch of the Democrat Party. Among the many things we are doing to become more engaged in the culture, 1360khnc.com now has a blog page for the sharing of hard-hitting conservative content. Help us break the left's domination of media by becoming a content contributor. Reach out to contact at 1360khnc.com to learn more.
Do you need your fireplace cleaned? Not sure if your fireplace is working right or not sure if the fireplace is efficient? Call Abundant Flame at 970-966-0217 to schedule your appointment. We service all brands of gas fireplaces, freestanding and built-ins, pellet stoves, wood fireplaces, and electric fireplaces. Visit us at Abundant-Flame or call 970-966-0217.
What's up, KHNC Patriots? Bucky Dillon here. If you're looking for a simple and free way to support the station, check out our Facebook page, facebook.com/1360KHNC. It really does help us reach a broader and a younger audience, help us take our country back. Give it a like, give it a follow, give it a share, invite your friends.
You can watch the live streams, you can read the blog, you can share the memes, and you can join the conversation. You can join the fight. Facebook.com/1360 KHNC.
Good morning, KHNC listeners. I sure am getting hard and excited to see you guys, talk to you guys. It is truly a pleasure, as always. I'm here with Casey and Kevin, my esteemed co-patriots. Guys, lowering the age requirement, raising a maximum age limit for Congress. Now, I've heard of term limits, and I think that actually would be an effective way of getting a lot of the lobbyist money out of office. It's tough. It's a tough situation, and I would like to hear you guys expand on your ideas about that.
Well, we're getting into like my first example on why we need to lower it is Congress can't talk to big tech about big tech. Like they're seriously just pulling up terms and conditions and being like, I see some questionable stuff in your terms and conditions.
But can't they just bring in young experts?
The current standard, by the way, is 25 for House of Reps. So it shouldn't go much lower than that, probably. So, like,
no.
The question, Dylan, then is.
I think it's like the voting age. I think it should be 14.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, you mean the age of consent in Alabama?
All right.
Kidding,
Well,
Alabama. Just
well,
kidding.
I mean, if you're referring to puberty blockers.
Yeah, no, the age of consent to change your gender in today's day and age. Actually, no, there is no age of consent.
I think it's down to 8.
Yeah, no, very weirdly enough, you have to have an age of consent to do everything, to smoke, to drink, to do the naughty stuff. But not to apparently decide I don't want to go through puberty. Apparently that is something anyone can do at any age. Yeah. But to get back to the congressional question, Casey, I think you were making really good points though. It's really important that you have representation from all levels. You can bring in an expert, but at the end of the day, if it's not the congressman who's going to be writing the laws that has an understanding enough to actually question, you're going to be presented with issues because they still have to translate it to policy. They still have to translate it to something that's actionable. And if they don't know what they're doing, then these tech giants are just going to be able to manipulate them as they are now.
Are you suggesting that older people have learning disabilities, that they can't have a young person come and explain the situation to them, process that, and take their recommendations?
Going based on the evidence, I would say the older people in our U.S. House of Representatives are incapable of doing that. Yes, there are plenty of old people that are. We just are not voting for them, apparently. So
Look at it. These people are too prideful to ask for help. That's the other problem. They won't. They're going to be like, well, look at this. If you go back and just look at the January 6th trial or whatever you want to call that garbage, and you look at the videos, all they did was just pull a bunch of videos online, put them together. They didn't even analyze them. Some of them even disproved their point. That's how stupid they are. And it's unfortunate that they keep getting reelected.
Well, they're getting reelected because they are stupid, and so the party leadership is like, yeah, keep him around because we just tell him what to do, and he just votes. He doesn't think. He just votes. That's why the problem with term limits and stuff like that is like it addresses the issue of lobbyists, but what people don't understand is there's lobbyists on each side. The problem is that they're able to give such good kickbacks to the politicians. That's where they end. Their lobbying is a necessary thing because for every issue that there is a lobby, there's a pro and a con, and they're both going to be doing their lobbying. The problem is the money that is involved in lobbying, and the fact that these people in Congress, as soon as they're out of Congress, all of a sudden they're getting, cushy $1 million jobs at, consulting jobs at whatever organization was lobbying them. So
are you
that's
suggesting that there's some kind of revolving door between regulating industries and working in those industries? That our legislators, hey, you know what, Kevin? These are public servants you're talking about.
I'm so sorry. I did not mean to insult the esteemed members of our Congress with its 7% approval rating. I am so sorry. That you know what? I apologize to all of you people in Congress that were offended by that. I would like to inform you right now, I don't care about your feelings.
Ouch.
Because the fact of the matter is, you're doing a terrible job. Nancy Pelosi is the freaking speaker of our freaking Congress right now.
Yeah.
She's older than Abraham Lincoln. Like, he called her grandma when he first met her, okay? Like, these are the people running our country.
Well, she has experience.
It's not experience.
I have so
it's called
much
wisdom. That she lacks very much of.
Oh my gosh! Well, she is incredibly wise. Let's give credit where credit's due. She's played an excellent Machiavellian through all of this. She has succeeded in taking this power, and she runs a great deal of this country right now. It's terrifying. She is, by all means, she has successfully deceived and manipulated her way to the top, which is, credit where credit's due. You're good at being a horrible person.
By the way, good morning, Kathy. Thanks for hanging out with us in the comments section. Guys, if you're listening to this radio broadcast and you're wondering who I'm referring to, come join the conversation. Facebook.com/Liberty Revolt Media, where we live stream. You can also see the live stream on Facebook.com/1360 KHNC. I'm talking with my friends Kevin and Casey about term limits. What do you guys think?
I think term limits are mandatory. We have proven it right now that if Joe Biden can be in office for 47 years, turn around, be reelected for president, and he claims he can change everything as being a president, but couldn't do it for the 47 years he was in office, the ignorance is there. We have to have term limits.
So what about in the situations where you do find that unicorn, that honest, honorable, hardworking, representative legislature who gets in there? How do we keep them around?
You don't keep them around. That's the thing, is it's got to be equal. I'm sorry. Like, that's the problem, is they do have to reach a limit, and then we have to have a changing of the guard. It just has to happen.
Personally, I think that it just depends on the level. So for the House of Representatives, I don't think that there should be term limits. It's a 2-year thing, and it's a very specific area. I think that what Joe Biden getting reelected demonstrates is not the necessity of term limits. It's the necessity of having an educated voting demographic, because the fact that the issue isn't that Joe Biden got reelected for 47 years. It's that Joe Biden got reelected. That's the problem. No matter how many terms it's for, the problem is that Joe Biden had people that were willing to see what he was doing and still continue to vote for him. Mainly because they weren't really seeing what he was doing. The problem is that there is populations voting for these people that suck, including, it doesn't matter where they're at. Everybody's congressman freaking sucks right now, basically. But it doesn't mean, the problem isn't that they're there for so long. The problem is that not because they can be, but they shouldn't be there at all is the problem. And so the term limit kind of forces them out, when the real issue is that who's to say that the people are going to be able to, the next person that people vote for is going to be any better, and if not much worse. So what it exposes is the issue of the voting base is not, this is why people get reelected. Congressmen are really good at making sure that the crappy bills they push have something that benefits their constituents. And it means that they're always able to go back and point to these things. So the problem is not that Joe Biden was able to serve for 47 years. It's that the problem was Joe Biden, that he was the problem, not the terms. It was Joe Biden was the problem. So until you can address the cause of that, I don't really see what term limits, at least at the House of Representative level, where it's such a short time to begin with. I don't see what that would solve. But that's just
so.
That's
you brought up it's in a sense it's a failure of our culture and a failure of our media, and I do think that these are, and I'll come back to this over and over because this is one of my key issues. If I was a one policy, a one issue voter, it would be electoral reform, because I think so much of this is a byproduct of how our elections actually work and the incentive structures inherent in our electoral process. But I want to touch on the media for sure, because you mentioned what is it with the incentives in our media that it doesn't seem as though they're actually giving people an honest representation of reality. And I would say that it's because our media is not in the business of representing reality. It's not in the business of helping us choose good candidates that are actually effective at governing in a conservative and classical liberal sense. They're in the business of ratings. People are more likely to right. They're trying to sell ads. And how do you sell ads? Well, you sell outrage, because positive input is not nearly as effective on garnishing people's attention as negative input. And, this is a psychological phenomenon that's pretty self-explanatory, right? You can only be so happy, but you can be absolutely dead, and you can suffer a whole lot along the way. And so can everyone And so the media, how are they going to get your attention? Well, it's not by covering what's predictable. It's not by covering what's normal. It's by covering what's shocking. It's by covering what's phenomenal. And they're going to focus on the negative stuff because we have this higher susceptibility to emotional manipulation via negative inputs. So in a lot of ways, what the media puts out there is almost the mirror image, polar opposite of the reality on the ground. And they're in the business of trying to rev up a mob into action. They're trying to aggravate you into action. They don't want an expanding audience. They don't want you to be on the winning side. They want you losing, desperate, predictable, and to be a base that they can cash in on.
Exactly. I think you're exactly right in that. The media's incentive right now is get your eyes on my page, so I get that money. That is the media's mainstream media's entire incentive structure, which is why you're seeing the alternative forms of media becoming more and more common. The Daily Wire and the Blaze are excellent examples of this. They've done a really good job of just saying, yeah, we get it, and you know what, we're gonna give you the conservative side because they're giving you the leftist side. But that narrative is very carefully constructed. It is on purpose, and there is intent behind it to maintain control, maintain a status quo.
Right, and I mean. It's interesting that we kind of we revert to the conservative side or the liberal side, and people have talked about ranked choice voting as one of the only ways to kind of do away with this and to force our representatives to try to cater to a broader base. I mean, we've all heard the phrase that you should run to your activist base during the primaries and then run to the center during the general. Well,
that's becoming less and less possible.
We should be running to the center, period, but we can't, right? Because of our electoral process, we are going to devolve into a two-party system no matter what. There's actually a rule for it. Without some form of ranked choice voting, you have what is called the divergers law, and it basically claims that as one party gains an advantage, lesser parties will naturally diminish and converge out of the idea of voting for the lesser of two evils, and it reinforces it until eventually you end up with two hyper-partisan parties no matter what. You're listening to the Bucky Dillon Show.
The globalists say resistance is futile. Will you choose to accept your slavery or declare your liberty? Find out how on Pac-Man and the Rev, Saturdays from 1 to 2. Sometimes the truth hurts.
Hey, it's Larry Elder. Thank you for listening to me every weekday from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. right here on 1360 KHNC, the roar of the Rockies. Do you own a business in northern Colorado or surrounding areas? Are you looking to reach a conservative, family-based, loyal audience which could grow your business? Well, take my advice and just call 970-587-5003 or email on the air at 1360khnc.com and tell them Larry sent you.
Do you need your fireplace clean? Not sure if your fireplace is working right or not sure if the fireplace is efficient? Call Abundant Flame at 970-966-0217 to schedule your appointment. We service all brands of gas fireplaces, freestanding and built-ins, pellet stoves, wood fireplaces, and electric fireplaces. Visit us at Abundant-Flame or call 970-966-0217.
What's up, KHNC Patriots? Bucky Dillon here. If you're looking for a simple and free way to support the station, check out our Facebook page, facebook.com/1360KHNC. It really does help us reach a broader and a younger audience, help us take our country back. Give it a like, give it a follow, give it a share, invite your friends. You can watch the live streams, you can read the blog, you can share the memes, and you can join the conversation. You can join the fight, facebook.com/1360KHNC.
The Patriot Trading Group is a different kind of gold and silver company, cleaning up the industry for 21 years. Are you tired of the high-pressured sales tactics, the constant phone calls? Are you done with the bait and switch? You just want to be treated fairly with honesty and respect? That's exactly what you get when you call 800-951-0592. You have my word on it. I'm Joe Jaquin, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group. Check us out online at allamericangold.com.
Chinese state-run media are celebrating the apparent success of Joe Biden and the mainstream news outlets, which act as nothing more than the communications branch of the Democrat Party. Among the many things we are doing to become more engaged in the culture, 1360khnc.com now has a blog page for the sharing of hard-hitting conservative content. Help us break the left's domination of media by becoming a content contributor. Reach out to contact at 1360khnc.com to learn more.
Tune in Saturday mornings from 7 to 8 a.m. right here on the Roar of the Rockies, 1360 a.m. for the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. Get your garden started and growing successfully all summer long, every Saturday morning from 7 to 8 a.m.
Christy, to answer your questions, yeah, we are actually a live radio show in northern Colorado. So this is a radio broadcast. These are our sponsors. Thanks for hanging out with us. So Christy says, sad over the traffic stop, but it's being blown out of proportion. What happened? Guys, I have not been following the news nationally.
The Minneapolis. So Delonte, I think it was Delonte, right? This is a tragedy. Incredibly tragic event. There was a traffic stop. Things started to get a little heated. Female officer pulls out what she thinks to be her taser, calls tase, and proceeds to fire her gun and shoot him. It was, by all accounts, an incredible tragedy. It does not seem to have anything racist about it. It is complete and utter negligence. this should be a very open and shut case, but it was incredibly sad to see what happened. There are people out there trying to impugn motive upon it, trying to say, "Oh yeah, cops use this as an excuse all the time to get away with shooting someone." I don't know how you can watch that video and not think that this woman made just an egregious, tragic mistake.
It's horrible. Like, when we were talking about this, we're like, yeah, this is gonna be blown up. We already knew that. It's gonna be blown up. It's gonna be blown out of proportion. A white cop, black person, media is gonna grab onto this and run with it, right? I watched the body cam footage yesterday as soon as it was released, and it is very tragic. And I'm gonna say it's tragic for both of them. She made a very big mistake, and she needs to be held accountable for that mistake. What that is, I don't know. But the judicial system will handle that, I hope. And then he made mistakes. He shouldn't have resisted arrest either. He shouldn't have had a warrant for possessing a firearm that he shouldn't have had. He should have registered his car. And all of this wouldn't have happened, type of thing. But there are numerous things that everyone could have done better in this situation, and unfortunately it cost someone his life.
Right. And from what I've seen, which is very little, because like I said, I haven't been following the national news. I've been diving into local stuff and working on my own projects, such as my magazine that is set to be printed and in distribution by Wednesday. But it seems to me that he didn't actually try to drive away until after he'd been shot, or in the process of trying to get into his car, he got shot and then he stepped on it. Man, what a tough situation, right?
Yep.
Like, it seems to me, what do you guys think? Is this indicative of a higher trend of police using outsized force against minority Americans?
No, not in the slightest. I mean, if she had grabbed what she meant to grab, which would have been her taser, no, it would not have been. But actually, at the end of the day, I just think that I don't want to draw any conclusions until I've actually seen. We just keep learning this George Floyd trial. The Derek Chauvin trial has been just an absolute. It's been insane just how much it has reinforced the idea that you need to wait until all evidence is presented before forming an opinion, because the court of public opinion is not where things are supposed to be tried, although they do get tried there. So like I just don't know enough about this situation to come up with an opinion on that. I don't.
Well, especially if the court of public opinion is based on outrage traffic media coverage.
Yes, that is. Yes. God, it's difficult.
We all know media is the problem, right? We know these mainstream media sources, all the big news stations, are the problem. They're not sharing the actual information. They are trying to spin it to get their views and their money. That is exactly what's going to be utilized for this situation, what's going to be utilized for all the riot situations that will happen throughout the year, because this is just setting the stage for it this summer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and gosh, it's interesting because it seems like a lot of these narratives, I feel like they are intentionally hiding the genuine crime statistics, because we can't have a conversation about law enforcement without having a conversation about crime, because that really is the other side of the coin. They go hand in hand. Do you guys happen to have those stats on hand?
As far as
police and their interactions with the minority community?
Oh yeah, there's like 300 to 500 million interactions a year between police and just people in general. But what you see is that according to the research that I have seen, police are actually more likely to shoot a white individual than a black individual based on crime rates and based on based on all the other factors, it is more likely to be shot as a white person than it is a black person. And the fact of the matter is, the problem that we're running into is that there are so many unnecessary laws that every single one of those unnecessary laws is another chance for an interaction with the cop to go bad. Every law based around where you can somehow imprison someone for this weird thing called a victimless crime. I was always under the impression that a crime required a victim. If I'm going to do something, you have to be able to demonstrate that it actually affected someone else. But every one of those laws is another chance for a traffic stop like this to occur. And so the problem we have is that we have too many laws, too many chances for things to go south, and there's no way to expect police to know every law they're enforcing. There's no way to expect the people to know every law that's being enforced. And, the conversation we need to have in this country is, what can we do to reduce the amount of laws that we have on the books and actually figure out where our values lie?
Okay, so in this context specifically, an unregistered vehicle.
Unregistered vehicle? Why should I have to register my vehicle ever?
I 100% agree with you. But right
would you
now
like
we
to
have
expand on that?
Why should I have to report to the government that I have a car, what my car is, everything about that? Why should I have to do that? Like, I get to drive my car. It's my car. I can have whatever car I want. Why should my ability to have my own personal car? I already have that freaking license thing you make me get. Now you're also making me do all this other stuff. No, like, if I buy a car, drive a car, I get
What
to drive
about
that
in
car.
the instance of a hit and run incident? There should be nothing for
There's a
witnesses
license plate.
of that. That's part of your registration.
Hey, no, but
If you're not registering your
that's a
vehicle,
one-time-
why
it should be
do you have a
one-time
license
fee.
plate?
One-time fee. Why is it that your car can go out of registration after a year?
Hey, actually, I do agree with that. And I'm just asking questions.
No, you're good.
Socialism, like the ancient ideas from which it springs, confuses the distinction between government and society. As a result, every time we object to a thing being done by government, the socialists conclude we object to it being done at all. We disapprove of state education, and the socialists say we are opposed to any education. Socialism. Frederick Bastiat, The Law.
Hi, Brian Kilmeade here. Thanks so much for listening to me every weekday from 7 a.m. till 10 a.m. right here on KHNC, the Roar of the Rockies. Hey, do you own a business in northern Colorado or surrounding areas? Are you looking to reach a conservative, loyal audience which could grow your business? Well, take my advice and contact my friends at KHNC. KHNC has a rapidly growing conservative family-based audience, and you can speak directly to them. Now, if you're looking for the type of customers or clients that believe in the principles that our great country was founded upon, just contact my friends at KHNC, the Roar of the Rockies, and learn how you can be heard right on the air. Just call 970-587-5003 or email on the air at 1360khnc.com. That's 970-587-5003 or email on the air at 1360khnc.com. Take it from me, Brian Kilmeade. You can showcase your business to the folks that are helping to take our country back.
Hey everybody, we are
Lady Antebellum.
When we started out in Nashville, we never imagined what we were going to be able to achieve. We got here because we worked together and had each other's backs.
In America, we have the privilege of being a diverse society made up of people from all kinds of backgrounds. And that's a big part of what makes this country such a great place to live.
When we put aside our differences and work together, there is no challenge too great to overcome. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
Too much jazz, man. It's too
I'm
much
laughing
jazz.
at the comment section here.
Okay.
Y'all are funny.
Just
All
to
right.
clarify, I think that registration should be a one-time thing. You register when you buy the vehicle. The fact that his registration was out of date is the problem. That shouldn't exist.
Well, not in the other case. Where was the other shooting? Where the black what was he in the Air Force or something? I'm sorry, I wasn't following the news, but I heard the Army medical guy. They pulled him over. They pointed a gun at him. They harassed the crap out of him. That seemed like an absolute abuse of power on the side of the police. And like I said, I don't know. I haven't followed these stories at all. I'm relying on you fine folk here. What happened with that? And wasn't he said in that argument that it was a brand new vehicle and he just hadn't registered it at all yet?
He was waiting for the plates to come in. He was in a new vehicle. It's absolutely disgusting. I suggest you go watch the 30 minutes. At one point he says how scared he is of being shot, and the cop says, "Good, you should be." Like that is not good policing. That is policing at its absolute worst and what it can be at its most oppressive. This man did nothing wrong. He complied the entire time. They pepper sprayed him. They handcuffed him. He did everything. I've watched the video. He did everything right from what I can see. Right, and it's disgusting. Those cops should not be working anymore. I don't think they are.
I'm going to disagree with you on that. He didn't do everything right. He drove for 2 miles. A cop followed him for 2 miles before he pulled over. And so a cop was nervous.
Is it possible that he didn't notice the police behind him?
No, he said he was driving to a well-lit area. That was his.
So you're allowed to drive to a place where you feel you will be safe during the stop.
Fair. But he drove for 2 miles, so that's going to make that cop super nervous because that's not normal. Most people will just pull over immediately, right? And so all of a sudden a cop is already going to be nervous, and the cop that you're talking about isn't the cop that was driving the car. That was another cop. And so it's a little weird that the cop that did the spraying of the pepper spray and all of the super weird behavior that you're talking about, I agree with you. He was out of line. However, if the guy, because the police did what do they call it? We just talked about it last night. A felony traffic stop, I think is what they call it. And they asked him to immediately get out of the vehicle. They withdrew their weapons. If he would have just immediately got out of the vehicle, put up his hands, and just complied at that second, that situation would have never happened. He disobeyed those orders at the beginning. And so,
well, I mean, people get nervous. People make mistakes. You know, we've all seen this. I have to be honest, right? I've had great interactions with the police. I have had horrible interactions with the police. Mostly it was because of my personal decisions and my choices in those circumstances. However, I can say honestly, if I'm driving down the road and a police officer pulls behind me, I get nervous. I feel like there's a shakedown about to happen. And I can totally understand why civilians will make reckless mistakes. Well, fine. He wasn't necessarily a civilian, but he wasn't a police officer, right? No. Why someone being pulled over by the police would make nervous mistakes in a situation. And it is a little overstepping for the police officer to take it that far.
Agreed.
Well, they were threatening his military career. They were telling him that, hey, by the end, they were telling him, as long as you keep this quiet, you know, your career will be fine. They knew they messed up. The problem is that the factor that led to him being pulled over was he didn't have license plates. Failure to register your vehicle with the government. I
heard that he had the temporary paper plates in his window.
He did. He had them displayed. But so at the end of the day, you're
It sounds
allowed
like
to,
these
if
police
you're getting
officers should
pulled over.
lose their job.
Yeah, so if you're getting pulled over, you are allowed to call dispatch, keep on driving, inform them that you're being pulled over, and say you're not pulling over until you verify the person behind you is a cop, because that is something that people do. That there are many crimes committed that way. You are allowed to verify that that the person behind you is a cop. You're allowed to get to a safe area. If you're not driving erratically, you're not trying to speed away. You indicate that you have noticed and you're going to drive. That is not justification for a cop to start all of a sudden treating everything as hostile that's going on. And everything was treated with hostility immediately. There was nothing that justified the pepper spray or anything. Everything that occurred was an absolute escalation of the situation by the police at every instance. And that is why it is so egregious. Yes, he could have complied better probably, but at the end of the day, nothing he did warranted the behavior or the treatment he was given.
So one conversation that I've been hearing in the light of these recent incidents is perhaps there should be different types of police officers, and only backup should be lethally armed. What do you guys hear about that?
How do you justify backup?
I know.
I think backup would be in the vehicle. It wasn't my idea, so I haven't sit here and dissected it and come up with it. But I've heard
that sounds like an infringement of Second Amendment rights to me. So no.
Of the police?
Yeah, everybody has a Second Amendment right. It's our job to restore it to the people, but that doesn't mean take it away from police officers.
You're listening to the Larpertarian Show right here on 1360
Kenny G.
KHNC.
This is Sam Shook, Navy Vet and Medicare Specialist. I just want to thank the KHNC listeners for their support and trust in me as their Medicare specialist. If you are currently on Plan F, we are in a window of opportunity that can save you a lot of money towards your monthly premium. Please contact me at 970-413-4939. If you are getting into Medicare soon or are already enrolled and have questions, please call me at 970-413-4939. Again, thanks KHNC listeners.
Hi, this is Mike Morris, owner of Warriors Revolution Tactical in Longmont. At Warriors Revolution, we have the largest selection of tactical gear and ammo in northern Colorado. But what many people may not know is that we now sell firearms. And even despite the recent run on firearms and ammunition, we have plenty of product in the store, including ARs, AKs, Glocks, SIGs, HK, and more. And don't forget all the bulk ammunition at the best prices in town. Need to do a private firearms transfer? We can do that too. I am a veteran of the United States Marine Corps, and our team is made up of veterans and security experts, not a bunch of salesmen. Our team is trained and fought with much of the actual equipment we sell. And one thing you should know is that we support the foundations and principles this great country was founded upon. So if you need tactical gear, ammo, firearms, AR parts or upgrades, and even survival accessories, stop by and visit us on Ken Pratt Boulevard and Bowen Street in Longmont, or visit warriorsrevolution.com. That's warriorsrevolution.com.
COVID has stopped Triangle Cross Ranch from conducting any fundraisers since March of 2020. Current state government issues has stopped our ability to have fundraisers until March 2021. We need financial donations to get through the rest of the year. Any financial support is welcome, or just send $1 US silver dollar a month to support our Christian mission. Triangle Cross Ranch, 36049 County Road 51, P.O. Box 727, Gailton, Colorado, 80622.
I missed the jazz.
Okay. Right. Christy brings up a good point. Certain segments of the population, for right or wrong reasons, feel like they are being specifically targeted by the police? What are steps we can take to mitigate this tendency? Because it really does put people in a situation to where they are going to feel more defensive. They are going to feel more nervous, and bad things are more likely to happen. Now, there was a study done by a Harvard economist named Roland Fryer, who found that Black Americans were 25% less likely to be shot by the police than white Americans. However, we're 17% more likely to have the police go hands-on the suspects. Now, read either way, it could tell a racist story, but we don't know how much of that plays into the narratives, the popular narratives that are at the foundation of these incidents. To where if you believe that the only reason you are being targeted by the police is because of your skin color or something like that, you're going. In the 1960s, there were active white supremacist groups in police forces around the country, and that has been borne out by the evidence. So what can we do from here to try to mend that relationship?
Anytime they mention George Floyd, remind them of Tony Tempa. Anytime they mention Breonna Taylor, remind them of Duncan Lemp. Anytime, they mention these, just tell everyone, look, it's happening to everyone, and that is the problem. This is not limited to just one racial group. This is not limited to just one people. Everyone falls victim to this same stuff. And stop letting the race baiters convince you that only Black people are facing this. It is not only Black people. We just only hear about it when it's a Black person, right? So that is the problem. It happens to everyone. No one is safe from it. We should all be just as suspicious of the government as Black communities are.
Now, we have tried to implement, for lack of better term, racial quotas in police departments around the country to make our police force more representative of the racial breakdown of the community. And it has, in some instances, given the community a better perception of the police. However, it has actually been shown that Black and Hispanic officers were more likely to shoot Black and Hispanic suspects than white officers were. So what do you think of the idea of trying to make the police force match the racial demographics of the community? And what do you think the trade-offs are?
I don't like that. I think everybody should be treated equally in general. You can't really go through and set
the
quotas or
ultimate minority
requirements.
is the individual.
Sure, but if you're going to be how would you set an expectation like that and hold someone accountable? Is it you have to review all body cam footage? Because look at how many times a police officer just lets people walk away or drive away.
Shouldn't that be a mandatory part of every court date, is video footage of what happened? All right, Kevin, Casey, I'll see you guys on the next NWA
Thank
album.
you so much.
Thanks for hanging out.
Thank you so much, man.
Guys, you're listening to the Bucky Dillon Show right here on 1360 KHNC. Have a wonderful day. Check out the website, 1360khnc.com/shop. Get yourself some CBD clothes.
When dealing with a worldwide pandemic, remember to avoid, distance, and alienate yourself from friends, family, and neighbors. That way, when the crisis is over, no one will ask you to help them move, to borrow money, or bother you for a cup of sugar ever again. After all, who needs community anyway? This has been a public service announcement. Have a lovely day.
Is the driveway made of fruit leather, or has the apple stopped appling? If your half of a 100-foot cottonwood tree just needs a haircut, call Affordable Tree Service North at 970-568-6898. We have saved many trees everyone else said was dead. Ah, show offs! Hey, you're not in this one either. From fire mitigation, bushes, trees to bees. That's 568-6898.
You're listening to